Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Images 2025, our fantastic jurors discussion. I'm Eric Dillner, the CEO of Shoreline Arts Alliance. Thanks so much for joining us. Shoreline Arts Alliance is a professional arts development organization that transforms lives through the arts. From professional business development training for all ages to recognition through exhibitions and awards, as well as scholarships for emerging artists, we've built a culture to provide artists a platform to thrive. Images is, of course, one of those great platforms. What a remarkable experience Images 2020 has already been for all of us, and there is so much planned for you. I can't wait to get going. This Sunday, we will have a festive time hanging the show together, so feel free to join us at the gallery Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you don't need to know how to hang the show. We can help you. And also there's options for those who don't want to lift the photos. We have plenty of other work to be done. So come join the fun. And then after Sunday, we'll have the gallery opening, which will be just shortly thereafter on August 2nd. And then on the 10th, we'll have Robert Calafiore come back to give a gallery talk. So we'll be blasting out all that information, but we're so excited about all the things that are happening. We are so thankful for these wonderful judges. We're going to miss them terribly. They are an amazing group, highly lauded, remarkably talented, and respected authorities in the world of photography. Most importantly, though, they're wonderful people. I got to tell you, they took such care to view each and every one of the submitted pieces. They went through 3 rounds. Now, how that works is that we took all the names, actually, Ethan, who you'll meet in a minute, took all the names off all the photographs and sent them the photographs just by number. And they judged and judged and judged over a couple of weeks 3 times. So with no names, and they selected the show, and they selected winners for the process. It was an extraordinary process. They do it. It's a labor of love, and we are so thankful to have them. Kristen Joy Emack, Robert Calafiore, and Lauren Wendle, they have just been amazing, and I can't wait for you to meet them here in just a second. So to get things started, I've asked Ethan Richmond, who you all, if you are photographers who've submitted, you've met him via email, maybe even talked to him on the phone. He managed the whole process of getting the judging up. Ethan is a recent graduate of Williams College, and he is a dancer, choreographer, poet, and he loves visual arts. During his internship, and during college, he internship at Ogilvy, Williams College Museum of Art, Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And most recently, he has just moved to Manhattan to intern with the prestigious Alvin Ailey Dance Company. So we're very, very excited for him, for all that he's doing. So I want you to get to know him a little bit more. And so I've asked Ethan if he will introduce each of these 3 judges before we get going. So Ethan, won't you share a little bit about Robert, Kristen, and Lauren?
It would be my pleasure. All right. So Robert was born in New Britain, Connecticut, to Italian immigrants. He is a first-generation American, and he continues to significantly influence his work through that experience. Cultural traditions and visual icons of his past merge with critical interest on the impact of new technologies on current culture, particularly social media, gaming, augmented realities, and communication platforms. The unprecedented speed at which new technologies change and the reflection of personal experiences serve to develop a focused exploration and conceptual base for his work. Calafiore uses a hand-built pinhole camera, or a camera obscura, to create large-scale, one-of-a-kind sea prints. In addition to his art practice, Robert is currently the Associate Dean of Administration and Finance at the Hartford Art School for the University of Hartford. Next up, we have Kristen. Kristen is a 2022 Guggenheim Fellow, a McDowell Fellow, a St. Bob Bultoff Fellow, and a Massachusetts Cultural Arts Fellow. Her work has been shown across the United States and internationally and has been published in magazines including Vogue Italia, Nat Geo, Black and White Photography, Oath, The Hornbook, and The Sun. She has lectured at multiple universities, including Harvard, Hofstra, UVA, Emerson, and Boston University. Her work has been acquired by institutions and private collectors in the US and Europe. And Cousins, Kristen's first photo book, was published in Italy by Leatere. And Kristen also won a scholarship from Shoreline Arts Alliance back in the day. So, really good connection.
In what category, Ethan?
In dance.
There you go.
And you can read all about it on our website as well. I did an interview.
Right.
And last but not least, Lauren Wendle is an independent photography consultant with a distinguished career in the photography and publishing industries. She most recently served as the president of the Lucy Foundation from 2018 to 2022, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to honoring master photographers, discovering emerging talent, and promoting the appreciation of photography. Prior to that, she was a vice president and group publisher at Emerald Expositions, where she led the photography group, the largest collection of magazines, websites, and trade shows serving professional photographers in North America. Her earlier roles include director of photography at the Image Bank and director of New York Advertising Photographers, where she helped advance the visibility and impact of commercial photography. Currently, Lauren consults on a range of creative and historical projects. She is currently curating a historical photography exhibition for the Abbott House in Iverington, New York, managing the archive of renowned photojournalist Lawrence Freed, and conducting historical research for Avanti's America line of greeting cards. In addition to her professional work, she serves on the board of the W. Eugene Smith Memorial Fund and volunteers her time developing and leading an art program for undocumented immigrant children in Westchester County, New York. Lauren's career reflects a lifelong dedication to the power of photography as both an art form and a social force. And those are our three amazing judges.
Great, Ethan. And now we have Lauren. Who's going to talk a little bit about our artist statement. Is that right?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I said artist statement, and I guess I should have said juror statement.
Juror statement. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Wendle, and I have to say it was a true honor to serve as a judge alongside Robert Calafiore and Kristen Joy Emack for this year's Images 2025, the 45th annual competition for Connecticut photographers. Judging photographic entries is a nuanced process, demanding both subjective and objective evaluation. The judges considered a blend of factors, including artistic vision, storytelling, technical skill, composition, and emotional impact. Collaborating with the other judges allowed perspectives to be challenged, understandings to be broadened, and selections to be made that truly captured the spirit and the strength of the submitted work. Ultimately, it was this collective lens that made this process so meaningful and the results so rewarding. Thank you all for submitting such wonderful work.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren, so much. We're going to just jump right in and now highlight several pieces of work in the show. We're going to begin with Robert to start off with some of our honorable mentions and maybe talk about context related to that. So, Robert.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, everyone. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. It was fantastic to work with Lauren and Kristen. Juried shows by their very nature are quite unique, and a juried show with one juror is much different than one with multiple jurors. You end up with different results. And so if you brought in three different people, you would have a completely different show. It really is about a juror's vision or a group of jurors' visions coming together like Lauren talked about. So it was really quite wonderful to work with both of them to come up with this particular curation of these images. Thank you, Eric and the Shoreline Alliance, for doing all that you do to support the arts in every which way. It's been fantastic to be connected with the group for some time now. So thank you to you for having me and all of us. Congratulations to everyone that participated. So these two pieces, as we talked about them back and forth, and as Eric indicated, we did spend quite a bit of time discussing our choices and talking about why I picked something, why someone didn't pick something, and back and forth. And I think together we came to some conclusions. And in these two, I think what struck all of us was that the context is really important here. And I teach at the Hartford Art School, and I tell students all the time who are coming in, prospective students, look, okay, you can paint an apple and make it look exactly like an apple on a canvas or on a board or on whatever material, and make it so photorealistic that it looks as if you can sort of reach in and grab that thing right off that two-dimensional surface. Well, why would you do that? If you did it 600, 500, 600 years ago during the Renaissance, well, it has one particular meaning. If you're doing it now, it has a completely different meaning. Context. Where are we? Who are we? Where are you? And where are you putting this image out? Where are you putting this artwork out? So the context has a lot to do with it, because those exact same apple paintings will mean something very different in different times. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. I can't control the house phone. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. House phone. I still have one, believe it or not. Um, it changes completely. So in these, context, I think, is really important given the moment that we're in. Regardless of our personal beliefs, we're in a social, cultural, political moment that's quite different than just a few years ago, let alone, 20 years ago. So the McRainbow piece and the boat piece, the meanings behind these, what a viewer can draw from them, and each of us will draw something different. But I think what makes both of them really great is understanding them. The photographer seems to understand the moment that we're in and is giving us something to think about. And we might each interpret that thing differently. But for me, these really speak clearly to me about the moment that we're in and what's going on and what those things might mean to each of us. So I think the context here is important, and I think it's important to note that visual literacy, we we are taught to read words and understand words and read novels and textbooks, but there's very little about visual literacy. And in today's world, we look at more images than we read words. We are bombarded by millions of images constantly, and they have an impact on you, whether you realize it or not. They influence you and push you in directions that you may or may not realize. And I think it's very important to be able to read an image and understand what is being said. So I think I'll leave it at that. They're both fantastic images, and it's the right moment. It's that 1/25th of a second, right? It's that right moment, right place, and knowing when to take that picture. Oh, fantastic work by both Robert and Sarah.
Thank you, Robert. Lauren and Kristen, do you have anything you want to throw in here at this moment? Or should we keep moving? Yes, Kristen?
Oh, I just wanted to say that one of the things that stood out to me about celebrating the 4th was that we're getting to see, I think Robert was touching on this about like the context of an image. And I love this image, particularly at this time that we see a mixed, racially mixed group of people all enjoying each other and themselves. There's some patriotism going on, and it's very joyful, and it's in a time that's extremely politically stressful. And so this is one of the reasons this popped out to us. I just want to add that.
That's great. Thank you so much. Good. Ethan, why don't we go to the next slide? And Lauren, would you like to speak about these three?
Yes. These three images, Pre-Game Vision Test by John Straub, Running Away by Hank Paper, and Little Italy by Norman Pastorek, share. I mean, they share like some common traits. They share the ability to elevate the quiet, often overlooked moments in a powerful visual narrative. Each photograph offers a distinct window into like everyday life, using storytelling, composition, and the emotional use of color. John Straub's umpire vision test is both humorous and it's like precise. The symmetry of the three umpires' backs turned and focused on the suspended baseball reads like choreography. The stances, especially the central figure's gestures, creates a rhythm and a movement. The image is clean, it's symmetrical and purposeful, framed for like this visual punch of the ball. It's a clever nod to the rituals of the game, the gravity of judgment, rendered in saturated greens and browns of an American ballpark. It's a nod to summer, baseball, and a tradition. I have to say, Hank Pepper's Running Away is an image that I absolutely love. But I have to say that, it really took, I think, Robert and Kristen, who both loved it, for me to really see it. It's that the way we were talking about, that kind of collective, talk when you're with two other judges. And today I love this image and can't imagine that I didn't see it at first. It's bucolic and poignant. The long line of laundry, the quiet farm building, and the lone individual mid-sprint create kind of a tension between stillness and motion. Soft rural hues dominate, greens, whites, and the rainbow of the laundry line. The splash of color in the clothing contrasts beautifully with the quiet tones of the landscape and sky. With its muted palette and expansive negative space, the image both evokes a solitude, but also like a freedom, inviting the viewer to imagine an emotional undercurrent of the scene. There's a strong narrative impulse, like where is she going? Is she like running to do a chore? Is she fleeing? Is she playing? The rural setting, the empty yard, the domestic laundry all suggest an internal life and an emotional undercurrent. Norman Pastorek's Little Italy brings us into the heart of the city. Two men in black coats and hats lean over a mailbox. Their interaction is private yet public, captured against a rich red wall bathed in sunlight. The placement of the two men and the mailbox is tight and cropped and implies conversation, collusion, or friendship, private life in a public setting. The saturated color and the tight framing are cinematic, and the moment, seemingly mundane, feels thick with story, secrecy, and nostalgia. These three images, there's a deep respect for the everyday. Each photographer demonstrates like a mastery of composition and timing, using the ordinary as a vehicle for a deeper truth. Their images are unforced and unpretentious, wry, observant, and emotional. They remind us that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones unfolding quietly right in front of us.
That's wonderful, Lauren. Thank you so much. I love that you said they have deep respect for every day. That's fantastic. And do either of you have anything else you want to add before we move?
I I
Go
think
ahead,
just
Laura.
to reiterate, I mean, Lauren, it's masterfully done. It's beautiful. I think I would just reiterate the catching the composition in the moment, right in the exact at the right exact time. The figure in Hank Paper's image in that spot. Imagine it somewhere else. Imagine the figure in some other spot in that photograph. It wouldn't work as well. It's captured in exactly the right spot. It gets framed in that little window. It's beautifully done. The way the laundry interacts with the silo in the background. In John Straub's piece, the way the ball, as Lauren said, suspended there just above that line, just above the horizon line, just as it's about to hit. You could have been just 6 inches lower or 6 inches higher. It wouldn't be the same photograph. So it's just these precise moments, I think, that whether intuitive or planned, all of them are these precise moments that make the picture successful. I love them.
I do too.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Kristen, would you like to talk about these two pieces?
Yes, I
Or just
would.
want
And
to mention?
also, just I wanted to say my thank you to everybody here. Great to work with this team, and also what a gift it's been to be able to look at all your photographs. It's really something special, and thank you for sharing them with us. Okay, well, what I wanted to say about these is that I'm going to just talk about unopened first. Unopened is the detail in this image is just outstanding. There's the hairs on the stem, the spike of the tips of the petals. That's just these details are just great. But it also has this energy. It's unopened, and because of the clarity of the image and the interest of the photographer taking it, we sense that the event that is we sense the event that's poised to happen. It's about to unfurl. It's about to unfold. There's this quiet explosion or effort from the flower that's about to happen, and that energy is captured in this image. So there's something, a little bit beyond what we just see. There's this energy behind it. And the mechanic is it's very humorous, very funny. And even though these are little miniatures, the way that the scene is set up, like immediately I'm thinking about mechanics, garages, tow trucks, junkyards. And I think it's really fascinating considering it's just these little toys that are set up into a scenario, but where that image can take us and like what entry points it creates by creating the scene. And I just love the colors, the balance of tones, the deep, beautiful black in the background. It's just gorgeous and it's very playful.
Thank you, Kristen. Anyone else want to jump in?
I I I may be talking too much, but I think
No, never, never.
one thing I
That's why
would
we're
say
here.
is, subject matter can be anywhere and anything. It's about what you do with it, and in both of these, it's about what's been done with the subject matter that makes them so fantastic. I think it's just understanding that you can find that thing you're looking for anywhere.
Excellent.
And I really like the idea of doing the black and white with the flower, because I think it kind of puts the emphasis, on the form.
That's great. Excellent. Thank you both. Okay, Ethan, let's go to the next slide. And I think, Kristen, you're going to be the lead on this one as well. Is that right?
Yes, they were.
Oh,
Happy.
you're muted, Kristen.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Am I?
Mhm.
See, I unmute.
we can hear you now. You just
Perfect.
seem to have frozen. It's okay. We can hear you.
Okay.
There you
Well, I
go.
was just saying, I'm just so excited and happy to be able to talk about these images. They're just wonderful. And all of these images really renew my faith in the mystery of the world. Each is at once very lovely, very and directly soothe my nervous system because I'm sitting here taking in their curves, their colors, and their patterns. January Ice is composed stylistically. It's sleek, it's crisp, and yet the whorls and the curves render a softness against the beautiful black background, and it's just stunning. Hillside Farm is very idyllic. It has a very painterly feel and a presence, and it has a timelessness as well. I look at it and I think of paintings from the 1800s or a Wallace Nutting who painted on interior and landscape photographs. And I think of the rich illustrations in vintage children's books, like from the 30s to the 60s. And I just find it remarkable. I get really lost in looking at all three of these images. Beaver Pond is abstracted just enough that I want to keep gazing at it like it's a puzzle, and I want to think about how it goes together. I'm drawn to the tiny natural shapes that nature has rendered here, and the photographer has elevated so delicately in this composition. And I keep asking, is this a macro scene, or is it pulled way back and shot from above? And I really like that I can't answer this question quickly. The image itself keeps me curious. And I would say that is true of all of these images. And that's a lovely quality to have in a photograph. I think Robert said at the beginning that we see so many images and more images than text these days. Our world is saturated with imagery. So if we have an image in front of us that like beckons us to hold our gaze and keep looking or feel a mystery, it's just a job well done.
Just jump right in, folks. Robert, I know you have something to say.
No, I think Kristen said it beautifully.
Yeah.
It's hard to do abstract work, and we were struck by all of these. There's a quality about them that's just aesthetically, they're just gorgeous, but they go a little further because they do hold your gaze and they do ask you to look more closely. And when you can get someone to look at anything for more than a few seconds, you've got it.
Yeah. Lauren, did you want to say something?
I'm good. I think
You're right
everybody,
there. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you both. That's all three of you. That's great. Okay, we're going to move on to the Anne Christensen Award. Robert, I believe you're the lead on this one.
Yes, and wow, on this one, Harmony Chamberlain Harrington's piece called Mama is the Snuggliest. And so I'll start by saying something about the title. Titles can tip you in a certain direction, or they can really mislead you. Titles are tricky in artwork, and I think this one's really interesting because I look at the photo and okay, I see what appears to be, if I didn't see the title, could be an older sister. I'm not sure, but obviously family. Um, and the color of the sheets, the color of the pajamas, there's a darkness about it, there's a mystery about it, the kind of light quality. It's very striking the way the light hits the faces. Um, and as I turn to the title, Mama is the snuggliest, but then I look at what's actually happening, the expression on Mom's face, it's wide-eyed. Is she, it asks a lot, it begs a lot of questions. Is she tired? Is she overwhelmed? Is there something else going on? You're really not quite sure what's happening. And then the little girl she's not sleeping. She appears to be sleeping, but then you look at the gesture of the hands, and it's almost this sort of Christ-like hand gesture with the palms turned up. And there's something very strange. It begins to get stranger and stranger the more you look at it, and it starts to ask me more and more questions about what's really going on here. So something about family life, I'm not really sure what's happening, but I think titles, meanings, all of these details, the expressions, the way it's lit, um, all of it makes us feel a certain way. It's pushing us in a certain direction to think about this picture. And I think it's remarkable. It leaves enough questions for me to want to keep looking and asking.
Wonderful. While the other two may want to put something in here, I just want to also share that this piece was blown up uh, the size of a bay window and put in a bay window today as our poster for the show for the month, and it looks extraordinary in life size, if you will. Um, I'm hoping that another photographer put it in my head today that we should get these two actors to come and stand next to it for another photo.
Right.
So I'm hoping they're game. Anything else you others would like to say, or
Well, I would just say, like, I actually love this image as well. And it was, as I believe, wasn't it a part of a series? There was several by this
A few
photographer.
others, yes. There was one in the kitchen, I think, if I'm right.
Right. And, having been like, I guess I like look at this and I don't know, like having, had kids and been a working mother, kind of identify with that. I'm reading a story into it because I think, as Robert was saying, there's a story here. And I think that whoever you are could read a different story into this, but I kind of read the story of, somebody who's gotten immersed with a child, but is also trying to find herself within the whole thing, and how overwhelming that can be. But I think, a lot of these images, I think images that tell stories tell different stories to different people. And this one definitely told a very personal story to me.
I think that's incredibly important when you look at work and when you talk about work. We talk about it with students all the time, that who you are impacts how you read and understand an image. You can't escape that. You can't escape who you are and your experiences, where you were born, to whom you were born, all of these things. Um, I'm not a mom, right? So I can't possibly feel it. I can think about it and I can hear your words and I can think about what you've said. But it's really critical to understand who you are and what you bring to the artwork outside of the artist.
I'd just like to add quickly, Eric, that there's something so disquieting about this image, which is why I think we continue to look at it again and again and again, um, and why it's the Ann Christensen Award winner here. Um, but I just also wanted to say that it's sometimes really hard to hear what other people have to say about an image. And for Harmony, for all I know, you could have intended this image very differently, and we're having all of these different entry points into it. But that's whatever, and or maybe you did intend for this to be exactly the disquieting thing that the three of us jurors are picking up on. But one of the most exciting things about photography is that you can create something that then you put out into the world, and in some ways it's no longer yours because we are all interacting with it, and our own experiences are intersecting with whatever it is that you've put out. So it's just like how art creates these moments, these moments, these moments. And I think this image is so grand in that way that it gives, there's so many possibilities of how one can read it.
I'll add one last thing to that because, Krista, I'm glad you reminded me of this. I've heard oftentimes is the art the object you're looking at or the experience you have when you're looking at it, the relationship between you and the object, and it speaks a lot to what you were just saying. I think it's fascinating that a work can do that.
Well said. Thank you all. That's fantastic. Well, we have four more awards, each of which we call them our first honors awards. And they are equally chosen as first honor awards. And Kristen, I think you have the pleasure of telling us the first one. So,
Yes, I do.
Hmm.
Okay, perfect. This image traveled with me through each iteration of our jurying, and it's also stayed with me. I've thought about it when I'm not looking at it. I've thought about it when I'm not judging. So it's a real pleasure to be able to talk about it. And I just wanted to say that what I wrote about it is that most of us have experiences looking at trees along water, especially in Connecticut. But what makes this interesting is the way in which Bob sees this moment. In a common place, in a common scene, he captured it in a way that begs us all to look at this scene differently. And it's very beautiful, but it's also an image that keeps giving. So new shapes, new geometries seem to emerge the longer I gaze at it. And it invites me into a dialogue. And this makes it more than just a beautiful shot. It's very compelling. And honestly, every single time I looked at it, even earlier today, it's just there's almost like a movement that's created with it, because it's like I'm looking at it, I'm curious, it's popping back out at me, and I'm looking at it again. So there's this like circularity of me investigating the image and it popping back out. It's just amazing. This is just a scene that I probably walked by a billion times and didn't see it in this abstract way, but Bob did, and I'm thankful for that.
Nicely said. Lauren or Robert, would you like to weigh in? No.
It's beautiful. I mean, I think we all as artists use different ways to bring the audience to the table. And in this case, aesthetically, it's just so stunning. It drags you right in. You have to look at it. It demands that you look at it. And then once you do, you do exactly what Kristen is talking about, and that's to investigate further and further, and it keeps asking you to go deeper.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Okay, we'll go on to our next, and I believe, Lauren, you're leading this conversation.
This image of Audrey and Heidi by Candy Dunbar is extraordinary. I really love this image. And like the last one, I mean, I agree with Kristen, like both of these images, like the last one and this one, we carried through all of the different, every time I saw this one, I was like, yes, definitely. Um, the expressions of the two girls are captivating, serious, direct, they're emotionally charged. And the gaze suggests intimacy and strength, and even like a guarded kind of vulnerability. It's reminiscent of Sally Mann's portraits, but being original in itself. There's a raw, unfiltered quality to their faces that feels personal and timeless. The framing's tight and intentional. The girls are centered, but the branches crisscross around them, creating like this frame within a frame, drawing your eye directly to them. The interplay of the sunlight and the shadows adds depth and texture. It emphasizes the contours of their hair, their skin, and their clothing. It evokes the mood, which is dreamlike, naturalistic, and slightly mysterious. The mirrored pose and near identical appearance evoke themes of duality, identity, and connection. Their bare feet and the tree suggest innocence, wildness, and a return to nature. There's a subtle tension in seeing two barefoot children, um, on a tree, balancing on a tree branch. It's kind of fragility meeting fearlessness. Yet their arms are around each other, which suggest care and stability and a sisterly bond. The black and white palette kind of strips away any distraction, and it really emphasizes the form, light, and emotion. I just love this image.
Well said. Should I press for any more comments? That was beautifully done, Lauren. Thank you.
Have I said it all?
I think, Lauren, you have said it all. I think you said it really well, especially for the fact that the three of us kept looking at this over and over again, and yet you've like just cradled it in all of the things that we were thinking, and it's really lovely, and you did a lovely job of describing it.
Yeah.
It's nice when it's speechless. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. This is going to be led by Kristen again.
This image just really makes me smile every time I look at it. It's so kooky and well composed and wonderful, and it's another image I've like thought about when I haven't been looking at it. It's one of those images that I think like, how did they do that? Like, where were they? How did they capture that? How did they know that that was going to be a fantastic composition? So what I wrote about this image was that I love, well, first of all, it's just a great composition. And I love the mirroring of the three fingers and the three torsos and faces. I mean, that's just clever, and it's very soothing to the brain to like to see this 3 and 3 mirroring each other. I also love that we don't exactly know what we're looking at, but we have these context clues. We have I'm going to assume, like I'm looking into it, I'm going to assume that the fingers are some sort of statue. I see the man with the camera. I see people looking 3 different directions. So I'm imagining there's things to look at. And so I'm imagining that this is some type of tourist scene. But I love that the image asks me to think about what's happening in it. And it doesn't ask me to think too hard, because that can take you away from an image. It asks just enough of me for me to be curious and like looking at it over and over again to sort of figure things out. And I also love this contrast of their busyness with the motionless fingers. I think it's very clever. They're not jumping, but each person is busy. They're busy by either like the wind in the woman's hair, the camera up, the girl looking in the distance. They are active in the space and the fingers are still. And I just love this interplay between those two things. And I just, we'll just finish by saying that, Oh, I'm sorry. I just noticed the title too, Alone Together. That's like a perfect title for this work. As Robert was saying, titles can help or sometimes get in the way of images, but I think this works. And I just wanted to end by saying that we don't always have to know. I have all these questions about this image, but I don't actually have to know what's happening here. I'm delighted by just the curiosity and thinking it through. But I don't need to know that this is in Egypt or this is in Washington, D.C. That is not necessary. The curiosity works to just keep wondering. So great job.
Wonderful. Any last thoughts on this one from the others? No. It's interesting as unified as they were about this through the jurying process. You can tell it's still remains. That's exciting to me that you still do. So before we move to the next slide, the last first honors, I will say that a group of photos were selected, and I'm not sure how exactly to do that, but that's pretty fantastic. So Robert, why don't you take the lead on explaining this next set?
Thanks, Eric. Yes, this series of works by Jackie Haichu, I hope I pronounced that correctly or close anyway. And given that this is the last grouping and it's a little bit unusual, it's not a single image, it's a sort of portfolio of images. Lauren and Kristen, please jump in at any moment. This is really about all of us. First, we were all taken by these equally, I think, throughout the entire process. They just would not go away. And there were more than these five. And I think what was remarkable to start, beyond how aesthetically beautiful they are, they're just attractive images, right? You're drawn to them. You can't help but be drawn to them. Besides that, just the fact that there's this dedication to this, that this is not easy to do. So singular vision, a body of work, to really invest time and look closely at these objects and come up with these little still life scenes for each of them. It's labor intensive, and you really have to love the subject and what you're doing, and then to put them together with such care and thought about composition and color and texture and form and the way the eye is led in a picture. Um, all of those things. The nod to the history of still life, I think, is just fabulous. There's a long history in the painting world, of course, to start, but in photography as well, both historic and contemporary artists making still life works, this sort of tableau vivant, constructing the scene, not going out into the world and finding the thing that you're going to photograph as it exists, but to actually alter somehow these objects, bring them together in a new way to create new meaning, new stories, new thoughts. I think really drew me, and I'm sure the other jurors in the same way. Um, so I think that all of that is playing in the background. Um, I wonder why mushrooms. I wonder why these colors. There's lots to wonder about and think about. And I also, the big question for me is, um, whether these are printed analog or printed digital. What I'm more interested in is there any digital manipulation? Are all of these things actual? Are we in a studio, and is that mushroom pinned to that little dollhouse chair? Um, or is it inserted digitally? Are these separate things being brought together, whether they're being brought together in the studio in life or on a screen digitally? The reason for bringing them together is the same, right? But the process is different and would add something different. So it leaves me wondering about that too. Um, so there's a lot going on, and I just think it's wonderful when you can see an artist's project, a body of work. It really tells you how invested they are in something. Um, and starts to give you a little bit more information about maybe what they're thinking or how they work or where they're coming from. So that they're exceptional.
And I love like the backgrounds of some of them. I don't like, I wonder, did the artist paint the background, like the green and the blue one on the right? I mean, there's such detail in it, they're amazing. We had a hard time narrowing it down to these five. Um, they're just beautiful. The colors, I love them.
Yeah, just stunning.
I just wanted to add to build on something that Robert was saying, which is that when you are creating a body of work, so multiple images to tell a particular story or to make a particular point, each individual image has to be just different enough that you're not repeating what you're saying. And so even though these images all have mushrooms and they're all within vessels or containers, or I guess the chair is a type of container, um, they're different enough that each one is curious. Like each one has a little bit of something where you just want to sink into it. And that's when an actual body of work starts to emerge. It's not just that you have a lot of pictures of the same thing or the same topic, but each picture carries its own energy and message into like this bigger
I couldn't agree with you more because I've looked at so many photographers who put together series and competitions, and there'll be like one or two great ones, and then the rest of them just fall off. And unfortunately, I think when you're judging, you go to that lowest common denominator a lot of times. And in this series, even though we picked these five out of a larger group, they were all good. They really were. So, so I couldn't agree with you more, Kristen.
Well, thank you all three so very, very much for helping us come to these decisions. First of all, that was quite a project, but also just sharing a lot about what you felt in this process. I think I'm gonna stall a little bit for you because I'm gonna ask a question, and I want to give you 2 seconds to think about. Like, what is? I want you to just give me one impression of what you feel this process did for you. And I'm couching that on the fact that what I learned from these three folks is that they live photography all the time. It's a huge part of their life, and everything you heard it today, everything moves them, everything grabs them that should, there's this sense of joy and love for every photograph that came through. It wasn't easy for I don't think, for any of you to hit, no, it's not in the show. I think that it seemed that they looked and looked and looked, and we had to go over and over and over with this group of judges to get to a final show because they had love for it. And tonight I heard, well, at the beginning, I heard Lauren say deep respect for every day, experienced relationships, emotionally charged, energy behind the work, tells a personal story, renewed my faith, Kristen said. The piece beacons to us. All these kinds of very emotional feelings that clearly you all felt, and now I even feel more because of what you said. So thank you for loving this art form so much and loving these artists so much and giving so much of your time to do this. But maybe each of you could just give us one last thought about what you experienced in this process.
For me, it was like a broadening of perspectives from Robert and Kristen. Like they both came up, and I can't really remember the specifics. I do remember the specifics of the clothesline image, but they both came up with, yes, just some ideas and things I really hadn't thought about, when I viewed it. And I appreciated that so much. I mean, it totally broadened my perspective on certain images and on certain aspects of photography. So thank you, both of you.
Yeah, equally thank both of you because that process to me, I love when I get to be amongst other artists or critics or writers or just art world people and work together collaboratively, as you just learn so much from each other. It's fantastic, and I think what the whole thing does for me every time I do something like this, it just confirms that there is a lot of work. Good grief. There's a lot of work. I'm usually not that popular. There's a lot of work being made out there, and it just confirms how many people are so dedicated and looking at the world and making pictures. Because we all take pictures, but making pictures is much a different process. We take billions of pictures, but making pictures takes a little bit more than that. And it just confirms to me that it's out there. The love is out there. There are people really looking and thinking and doing. And I love to see that.
I'd just like to share that that it's a hard process. It's a hard process to look at a lot of good work and then narrow it down to a few. And even though I've have some great accolades in my CV, you know, the Guggenheim to point to one, to recognize one, I still have to do this myself. I still have to submit my work and I still have to get rejections or not, or get, you know, or find that I've gotten the award, etc. And there's really no arrival place. You're out there in the world and you're making good work. And I just wanted to say for the folks that, you know, did not get into this final round, we saw a ton of great work. And not getting here doesn't mean that you're not committed and that you're not doing terrific work and that you shouldn't keep doing and developing what you're doing. It's all a process. There's no arrival place for any of us in any of the arts. We just got to keep doing it. And so thank you for giving us a chance to be vulnerable and let us look at your work. Appreciate it.
Well, you all are absolutely a joy. Thank you so very much. I want to once again congratulate all of our artists so much for really going through the process, getting your work in, thinking about your artist statement, doing all those tactical things that you need to do to get into the show. And congratulations to all those who are in the show, because as I think you've just heard, the awards are fantastic. And also, it's an award to be in the show. So congratulations to you all. I want to thank a few people before we totally close this up. Ethan, you can slide along to the next slide if you like. We have some folks who've been wonderful sponsors for us. Andrew and Fiona Wood. We have a family that doesn't want to be named, the Tremaine Foundation, Connecticut Office of the Arts, Mercer, MJ Petretto, National Roofing and Shore Publishing. I will say that this list has really shrunk over the last few years, and it's very heartbreaking to us all. So if you all have a connection to a business, to someone who might be willing to think about how they could keep this project continuing on, we've been going on for 44 years, and I have to say this is the toughest it's ever been to make something like this happen. And these three judges before you literally worked for a penny an hour, and I really mean that. They didn't work for money. It was for a little tiny thank you gift, if you will. So it costs money to do this, and we just hope that you can find ways to help us be connected to folks who might be interested in this. We have amazing volunteers. I can't tell you enough about John Callio taking all of the art that comes in and then creating all of our graphics for all this work, like the big blown up poster that's now on down in Westville on the street there, and all the other art. So thank you for all that work. And Jim Elting, who's our chair of the gallery, and make sure that whether he's the only one there or lots of people show up to help, he gets it done. And Robert Thomas, who's actually been doing a lot of our printing for us and also has been managing check-in for us this week. And there's just a list of wonderful people. I encourage you all to come and join the team for Hang. It's going to be fun. I want to tell you that in the chat, we had some interesting questions, and we're not gonna answer those tonight because many of them were to other artists in the room, and so this is a great thing for us to talk about when we do our opening. Bring those questions, and I think you'll want to talk to your fellow artists. Ethan, do we have any other slides there that I should be showing? Oh yes. So you're going to see this all over the place, all the dates, but right here, basically, I just want to remind you that the opening reception is August 2nd, 2 to 4, and Robert is blessing us with his time again on Sunday, August 10th at 2 o'clock in the gallery for what I call a walk and talk. So we'll walk around the room and he'll talk about work and ask and talk to you all about it. So for those who've joined us who I want you to also think about purchasing some of this art. It's extraordinary to support these artists by buying their art. Please come and look. And what I love so much is when one artist buys another artist's art. It's pretty exciting. I love that part of my job being that the matchmaker. So we have a great, wonderful set of board members and supporters out there, and I again want to thank them. But in final thought, thank you, artists, so much again for inspiring us, doing your great work. It gives us all hope that we can make sense of the world. Your work challenged us to think and to ponder and to really just, I think, find hope and look for a better tomorrow. So thank you all for everything that you've done. Once again, Lauren, Robert, and Kristen, yes, thank you so much for all that you do. And I hope to see you all in the gallery. Have a great, great evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Take care.